And we are live. So, welcome everyone. This is our first community call for Grafana OnCall product. Grafana OnCall, open source incident resolution tool, which we recently announced. And we have a small agenda for today. At the beginning, I wanted to introduce the whole team. After this, we will show latest updates. We revealed Grafana OnCall only last week, so we don't have much updates, but since those calls will happen every month, I hope in this section we will show more and more updates. After this, we'll have a session about how to set up development environment, how to configure everything locally and make changes and build features, fix bugs, whatever you want with the source code. And at the end, Q&A session. So majority of engineers who are working on Grafana OnCall, they are here. They are ready to answer your questions. And we'll be happy to discuss and listen from you, etc., etc. Let's start. So yeah, my name is Matvey. I didn't introduce myself. I'm leading the project. And here with me, I see Ildar. Ildar, could you please take a word?
Hi, folks. My name is Ildar, and I was with the project from the very beginning. I was in charge of backend infrastructure, a little bit of front end. And if you have any questions on any decisions that have been made, you can reach to me. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Will you answer?
Back to you.
Will you answer why did we choose Django stack?
Yes, of course. If we have this question.
Okay. Thank you,
we
Ildar.
have this question all the time.
Vadim, please. I see here.
Hi, my name is Vadim. I'm software engineer here at Grafana Labs. I basically work on the backend part of the project, all things backend. Feel free to ask any questions that you have. And yeah, happy to be here and that we actually announced our OSS product. Yep. And the next is Maxim. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. My name is Maxim. I'm a front-end developer. I love to beautify Grafana OnCall, make beautiful interfaces. For a long time, I was the only front-end developer in our team until Yulia joined us. So, Yulia, please go ahead. Yana, please introduce yourself.
Yes, hi guys. Yeah, my name is Yulia. I'm also front-end engineer here on OnCall team. Yeah, super excited about our first discussion session and in general our open source version. So yeah, feel free to ask us anything. Next is Michael.
Hey, I'm Michael. I work mostly on DevOps and backend for Grafana OnCall. And yeah, I'm super happy to be here as well. Who's next? Matthias?
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Matthias. I'm based in Uruguay. I joined the OnCall team 4 months ago as a backend engineer. One of the main motivations to join the team was this moment we had a few weeks ago of open sourcing the project. So really happy to be here. Innocenty, once next.
Hi everyone, my name is Innocenty. I work as software engineer on the Grafana OnCall, and I'm working on that for 2 years already. I'm responsible for all kind of backend development and for the Terraform provider. Like we have Terraform provider, somebody didn't know that. So glad that there are not only Grafana OnCall developers in this call. So Next one is Julia Artyukhina.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia. I'm a software engineer in OnCall Squad. I work on backend part of this application, and so I'm very excited to be here.
I think
Next,
Rafael is
Rafael.
next.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rafael, and I am product designer for Grafana OnCall. I'm here to make Grafana OnCall user-friendly and beautiful. So feel free to reach me at GitHub if you have any issues about design or any ideas about design. Thank you. Next, I'm lost, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I right, everyone? I think like Rafael, next day your mobile phone will will notify you about new comments every few minutes.
It will be cool.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So we want to show latest updates every month. And the next is Ildar, because after we announced OnCall, Ildar improved how Helm Chart part works. Ildar, please, to you.
Thank you, Matvey. Let me share my screen and give a small demo on our Helm chart. Basically, we released our product with the Helm chart, and here is some instruction how to run it. We provided the basic Helm chart, and the default configuration is intended mostly for proof of concept. And if you want to use this application in production, we really recommend you to move all the stateful services to some PaaS solutions, to cloud providers, etc., and not run stateful services as a part of this release. But for today's demo, I will be running our default configuration. Basically, to start using our Helm chart, you need to add the Grafana Helm charts repo to your machine. And after that, you just need to run the Helm install command with a few flags. Flag wait, it's needed for some Helm internal things like hooks. Then you need to set the base URL, and it will be just your DNS name. Also, if you want to have Grafana as part of this release, you should tweak some Grafana configuration as well with the DNS name. Then you use the name and the chart name in Grafana repo. After that, after running Helm install, in a few minutes, you'll have the output with all the instructions how to connect the DNS record, how to create the DNS record, how to access the Grafana that was installed as part of the release, and how to connect Grafana OnCall backend that we just deployed to the Grafana. Well, why not try do it? And be happy to show the demo.
Risky moment of live demoing.
Not that risky, because I have already run that command, because it usually takes some time until all the pods are run, all the migrations are done. So right before the call, I've run the command helm install that I was showing to you with the defined DNS name, hildari.me. It's just my DNS name that I have. Well, after a few moments, be outputted with the following instruction. It tells you to create a DNS record that points to the specific IP address, and we're prompted to run the following command. Let me do that. So I'm running kubectl ingress, get ingress, etc. And I have the IP address, which I have to copy and paste into the DNS settings of my DNS provider. Let me actually show where is that happening. As you see, I have the DNS settings for my DNS name, Darmi, and I've created the record with a host at, and as a value, I put the IP address that I got with that command. That's pretty much it. Maybe if you're doing that first time, you'll need to have a couple of moments until this DNS record is propagated. Let's go back into the terminal. And the next part, we need to get the password for the fresh installed Grafana. By the way, check our values.yaml file. You can use your existing Grafana and you'll not need this step. So I'm running this command and I'm getting the password. I'm exposing this password for purpose because I'll kill this installation right now after the demo. So the next step, I need to go back into the browser. Let me do that. And I'm going to my Grafana and using that password. Then I go to plugins and find the OnCall plugin. When I find the OnCall plugin, I see the configuration page where I have to fill a few fields: invite token, OnCall backend URL, and Grafana URL. In order to get the token, I need to go through the instruction. Let me go back into the terminal. And we have the set of commands to get this one-time token. Please, if you try to use it, regenerate it one more time. So we are getting the token. Here it is. And also, I'm pasting it into this field, invite token. Then I need to copy paste a few more fields. Let me go into instruction. We have a Grafana backend URL generated over here, and I'm pasting it to the page. I'll show it to you right now. And also I'm copying the Grafana URL. Let me go back into my browser. You see, I've copied both of the URLs. And once I click connect, it connects to the backend. Now, once you see this, everything is good. And we are ready to open the Grafana plugin inside this exact Grafana. Here we are. We can start using our interface. For example, we can create our first integration. If we click on the new integration, we can connect even the existing Grafana, but it's fresh. So you probably want to connect some other monitoring system. It's use most generic one, formatted webhook. You use this link to send the webhooks to your new fresh Grafana OnCall. Let me just send some demo alerts. Just using this button. And if I go to the alert groups, we'll see that they are here, and we can acknowledge, resolve, and continue setting up Grafana OnCall, setting up new integrations, new escalation chains, set up OnCall schedules, connect your Slack or other messengers, and so on. Yes, that was a quick demo of our Helm chart and production installation. Or to you, Matvey. I'm done.
Thank you, Ildar. Looks cool. So the main difference between these and the Helm chart we announced during the release is that it's now part of Grafana Helm chart. So, right?
Yes, absolutely correct.
Cool. Thank you a lot. And the next thing we have in our agenda is a developer setup. Grafana OnCall is multi-component thing, and without this instruction, I think it could be tricky to set this up. Over to you, Matthias.
Okay, thank you. Let me share my screen. Okay, you should be looking at my screen, I guess. And the idea is to show that the instructions we have to set up your development environment really works. So let's say you have fork our repo. You can see I have my fork, which is up to date with the upstream repo. I already cloned the repo here. So you can see this is my fork, and this is a clean environment. And the idea is to follow the instructions we have in the repo for the developer setup and try to get a feeling of how they work in practice. So one of the first things we need to do is to run the stateful services we need to run OnCall in context. So we have our MySQL, Grafana, and all the other environment services we need to run our project. For that, we have a Docker compose file, which is the developer suffix 1. We need to get everything up.
Dash F
Sorry,
before
of course. Yeah, things in going live could be tricky. Okay, we have our services running there. This could take a bit, but everything is already being created and set up. And the idea is to set up the Python environment in which we are going to run the Django run server and Celery workers and get a look of how they work in the UI to get things up and running. One of the next things we need to do is to make sure we have our environment variables set up. You will see that we have a num example file in the tree that the instructions say we should copy as our end file. We do that. We don't need to tweak anything here at first. It's just a few environment variables that you may need to change if you need to work on some specific things, but the default values should be okay. So we have that. To make sure things work, we need to export these environment variables in our environment. So we run this export command, which will export the variables in our environment. And next step will be to set up our virtual env to work with the Python dependencies we need. For that, we need to confirm we have the right version of Python. In our case, we require Python 3.9 at least. So we're okay in that front. And we can set up our environment where we are going to install our dependencies to activate the environment. So something to be aware and take into account, you always need to export the environment variables and work inside your virtual env because things could fail otherwise. I'm sure I will forget this later, but I mentioned it now, so I try to remember later. So we have our virtual env. Next step will be to install the dependencies. For that, we have the requirement files inside the engine directory. Since I have been doing this a few times, all the packages should be already in my cache, so it should be quick. Installing a lot of things. Next, we will be setting up our database by running the Django migrate command, which will populate the tables in our database, which should be already running because we did the Docker compose step. Something I'm not going through here is installing Docker, Docker compose, or Node.js. I'm assuming you have your environment set up with those tools, because they are not part of this demo. So we have our environment set up. We will now run the migration step. This is a Django project, so you can ask Ildar why is Django, but meanwhile, we know that to set up our database, we need to run the migration steps. We will set up our database. It should take a few seconds. And in this point, we should be almost ready to run the service. So we can run server. Something here that you need to follow in instructions is, well, the port in which we will want the service to be running. And something else that is not in the instructions, but I will be updating later today, is like, if you want the run server to be accessible from the Docker container where you are running the Grafana instance, you will need to expose the IP to be accessible from outside by running run server with the .0.0 IP. So there we have our service running. And for things to work, you also need to have the Celery workers running. For that, we will be opening a new terminal in which, as I mentioned before, we need to make sure we are exporting the env variables and activating the virtual env. Then we can start Celery by running the Django command start Celery. That will start Celery workers. You may also need to run Celery bit, but that's not usually the case. So unless you need it, you can leave it that for later or only when you need it. So we have Django running, Celery workers running, and we have started also the Docker Compose starting the Grafana instance. So if we go to localhost 3000, we should see Grafana running. We can log in with the user and password OnCall. And here we are in our Grafana instance. As you can see, there is no OnCall plugin yet. For that, we need to go through the plugins UI. We should see Grafana OnCall here. However, since we didn't build the plugin locally, we will see something like this, and we don't have any setup page available. That means that we need to compile the plugin and make it visible to Grafana. So in our OnCall clone repo, we should see the Grafana plugin directory. And here we need to go through the compilation step for the plugin. For that, we go through yarn install. As I mentioned, I'm a backend developer, so these front-end plugin steps, I'm just doing what the instruction says. But I guess we are fetching dependencies and compiling the plugin to make it visible later in the front end. Takes a bit. You can ask Julia or Maxim about this probably. So there we have the plugin should be being built. We will need to restart Grafana. So we go through compose. And we restart Grafana, assuming this has finished. And now, if we refresh here, we should see that we have the setup available and we have this now set with fixed values. This is as just show Ildar in his deployment. we need to set up these URLs for the OnCall backend, the Grafana URL, and this invitation token. In this case, since I'm running in a Docker container, I will use the internal name for our OnCall instance. And I need to generate an invitation token. That's done as we have showed before. You need to run the, I never remember the name by memory, but here it is. I run the manage command to generate the token. We copy the token. I will install server. And then we have the token, the OnCall service URL, and Grafana URL. This should work. And we will be connecting the front-end plugin with the backend service. There we go. At this point, you have a running OnCall plugin in your Grafana instance, and you can create integrations, send alerts, etc. So that should be the first part of this demo. If anyone has any questions or comments from the team or from anyone else, this could be a good time to ask. Otherwise, I could show a little demo on how to fix a small bug. So you get a look of how the code is organized and how things work when proposing a fix for something. Sounds good? I don't know if we haven't done yet. Okay. If there are no questions, I will try to show you something that we can fix quickly right now. There is a pending bug I was looking at, by which if we have a user here in our system, which is a viewer, we are not returning it in the API. So let's show that quickly. If I have a new user added with the viewer role, it's a new user in our local Grafana with role as viewer. If we add an apt, no, not here, on call, create a token for this. Copy the token. And we do a request to the user's API console. So I'm doing a request to the user's API using the token I just generated. You will see that I'm only returning the admin user and not the one I just added as a viewer. Well, that's something we need to fix. And for that, I can show you. Here I have my editor with the OnCall project open. And you will see that the Django project is under the engine directory. There you will find the apps that make the project work. Particularly, I'm going to the public API app right now, and just to find the URL we are looking for. This is the user's API. So we are going to take a look at the user view, where we will notice that the query set that we return for the user's API is filtering by role only admin and editors. So this comes from inheritance of the original project. It's something we need to change and fix because we want to return every user here. So it's an easy change we can do. Just return all the users in the organization. In the ideal case, you will also write a test to check this works as expected. I already have the test written, so I will copy paste from somewhere else. You will find tests for most of the apps in the test directory as expected. You can see all the tests here. I will add my test that checks that all the users in the backend are returned in the API. So I create a user with the role editor, viewer, and an admin user here. And I expect all the users to be returned in the test. I need to add this import to make things work. I don't know why that is being added. So we have a test, we have a fix. It will be nice to check that things really work. So I could go back to my terminal and repeat the API request. And of course, it will fail because this is a live demo. Probably I'm forgetting something here.
I think you should write there like organization.users.all. There's like organization all in the query set.
We missed users here, right? There we go. Thank you. So there you can see that we have both user return, and to complete the experience, we can run tests to make sure things work. This is just running with PyTest. Should run all the tests. It could take a bit. And we will be back to that in a minute. The other thing you can also run before proposing your fix is all the linting stuff. So for that, we will activate the virtual env and run the precommit command against all our files. That will run isort, lag, flake-ite, and also linting stuff for the front-end plugin. So you can see we have a few issues that's running here. This is imported but not used because we deleted some code, so we can go and fix that in the user's file. That's not needed anymore. We can rerun just to make sure. There we go. I've been also testing PyTest with the parallel running plugin, which makes tests run a bit faster, but I need to do some polishing to implement it here. But here we have all the linting stuff passing, and all the tests should pass. And you can double check that with the original code, the test we added will fail, because that's what you expect. One error, of course. Runtime error. Okay, that's a new one. Something failed in the database. Not sure why, but that's another thing. It's not related to our stuff. We will be probably checking later. Maybe something related to running services and some hiccup. So that's it, I think. You have now the diff to propose your first PR fixing a bug in OnCall. That's all from my side. If you have any questions, feel free to reach us in the Slack or through GitHub. Thank you. Back to you, Matt, I guess.
Thank you. So that's complete guide how to set up development environment write tests, launch tests. Actually, I'm surprised how fast tests are working. Last time I checked, they were working much slower. That's a good signal.
I was playing with the PyTest XDist plugin, and we can run tests in parallel without any issues at first, and you can run like 3 times faster. So
let me see. Thank you, Matthias. Okay, that's all for our agenda. We have a little bit of time left for Q&A. If you have any questions, please, that's moment to speak or write in the chat. Or any ideas?
Okay, I'll go first. So, Ildar, tell us why we chose Django to actually implement the project. I want to know.
Well, at the moment we started the project, we started it as a Slack application, and the best SDK was written in Python for Django. And also we started as a SaaS, and that's the best choice when you start some SaaS. Now, happily, we are open source and we are open to all the proposals. Please come more to our community calls. Please attend our discussions in GitHub, and we'll be happy to move forward to the new stages of our product. That's probably be my answer.
As well as I remember, the core reason was to choose something boring.
Yes.
Because this thing should just work.
You succeeded, it's boring. Thank you.
Boring is not a bad quality for framework.
Yeah. I meant
it just works.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were happy to process thousands of alerts and incidents for more than 2 years without major downtimes. We were hosting it successfully in relatively small infrastructure, and it was not that bad.
Okay, I think we don't have questions. Am I right? Oh, Docker run Grafana, do not see on call. Is it available only for enterprise-ish guys? Wants to answer this question. I can answer. No, it's available for any Grafana instance. Grafana OnCall is distributed as separate service you need to launch. So run like Docker run Grafana, go to settings, plugins, find OnCall, launch server as described in our README, and you feel free to use it, even if you don't use enterprise Grafana.
And
okay.
we'll of course double check if it's there.
It's there.
Yes.
Of course it's there. If it's not there, please file an issue as fast as possible because it should be there.
Oh, Mark confirmed that it's there, but
you know, Steve, probably we could do it better somehow. Thanks everyone. Let's wrap up. The recording of the meeting will be in YouTube, and if you watch this recording in YouTube, please go to our GitHub to discussions and sign up for next community call. We'll have them every month. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.